This little box is not connected to the internet, and yet I can still pull up Wikipedia on it, I can browse global street level maps, I can ask an AI a question, I can watch some videos from my favorite creators, and I can even look up prescription drug labels. This is Project Nomad, and we just released version 1.34. It is hands down the biggest update to Project Nomad ever, with 70 features, fixes, and improvements in total. Now, if you're new here, Project Nomad is 100% free and open source. You install it onto a PC that you own, you point a web browser at it, and then you get offline Wikipedia, Khan Academy, global street level maps, a local AI assistant, and a ton of useful tools that you may need when the internet is gone. Project Nomad has no subscription, it does not phone home, it is completely private and free, and you can install it right now. So if a storm takes out your internet connection for 3 days or the power grid buckles under a heat wave, the stuff that you'd actually want to look up lives locally on your own server. All right, so now let's talk about what's new in version 1.34. This is a YouTube video that is playing on a server with no internet connection. We're calling this feature Creator Packs. Select creators handpick content that they want to survive the apocalypse, and then we package it up and we install the whole collection onto your Nomad server in just one click. After that, it lives on your drive and plays through Kiwix, which is the same offline reader that Nomad uses for Wikipedia. We've launched with 3 different creator packs. We have the Project Nomad pack, which has various information about this project. We've got the Crosstalk Solution pack, which contains 30 of my networking videos. And then we have the Modern Rogue pack, which has 37 videos covering topics a gentleman, a warrior, or a scoundrel might find interesting. More packs are coming soon, and if you know of a creator that would be a good fit to have their content live on forever in Project Nomad, let me know down in the comments. You can now point your local AI at your own manuals and tell it to ignore everything else that it knows. The AI runs locally on your own hardware, and it is completely optional. You do not need to install the AI functionality in Project Nomad at all. We've had the ability to upload your own documents into Project Nomad for a while, so PDFs and manuals or notes or whatever you happen to have. The problem was that everything went into one big pile. You'd ask a question and the AI would pull from that entire pile all at once. So your solar inverter manual and your kids' homework and a Wikipedia article were all equally likely to come back. In version 1.34, we've now introduced collections. You can group your documents by subject and then tell the assistant to answer from a single collection only. So if I've got every single manual for all of the equipment on my property grouped into one collection, you can ask, what's the reset procedure on the inverter? And you're going to get an answer out of that collection rather than, just a guess that's assembled from the internet's general opinion on inverters. Now, indexing your documents into Nomad's LLM takes a lot of time and a lot of disk space. We try to tell you, roughly what that's going to be before it starts, but if you're running a local AI on Project Nomad, the beefier the hardware, the better. We have now added custom AI instructions in Project Nomad if you have opted into the LLM capabilities. There's now a file called nomad.md, and users can edit that file and then add in custom instructions for the LLM. So whatever you put into that file gets applied to every conversation from then on. Mine tells the LLM to be concise and to know that I'm offline and it shouldn't send me out to some internet link. But you could also tell it that you're a beginner and you need it to explain all the jargon to you all the time. Or you could tell it that you're working on a boat and you need to assume that everything runs off of 12-volt DC. It's the same idea as a system prompt on a cloud AI, except it's a file on your own machine that you own. There's also a per model thinking toggle now, and it is off by default, but some models will show you their reasoning before answering, which actually can be genuinely useful when you're checking their work. But while custom instructions change how a model responds, they're not going to turn a small little offline model into Claude or ChatGPT. Offline models on mini PCs feel about as smart as those frontier models were like 2 years ago. Okay, so don't expect miracles. This is an FDA drug database. It's searchable with interactions, running on a server with no internet connection. Now you can search for a medication and you get the actual FDA label, what it's for, the dosage information, the warnings. There's a section organized by condition and also one for common remedies. Now, everything that I've shown you so far is convenience, right? But this one really isn't. If the power's been out for 2 days and you're a long way from a pharmacy, or you're just somewhere with no signal and somebody's asking whether they can take a specific prescription or over-the-counter medication, that's a genuinely bad moment to have no way to check. 2 things here. First, this is freely available open FDA labeled data only. It is not medical advice, and Project Nomad puts a disclaimer in front of that you have to acknowledge before you can get in. This is just a reference, right? The same way that a physical drug handbook would be a reference. It is not a doctor. And second, this whole feature came from a community contributor. Someone wanted to see this in Nomad, they built it, and now we've integrated it as part of the project. I absolutely love community contributions, so don't hesitate to reach out if you've got something that you think should live offline forever. You guys absolutely destroyed my previous benchmarking system. I thought that it would last for years, but after just a few months, I realized that it really didn't scale all that well. So we had to redesign the entire system. And now Project Nomad has released Benchmark version 2. While it's running, you now get a live telemetry instead of just a spinner. There's a GPU utilization overlay on NVIDIA cards, so you can confirm your graphics card is actually being used, and it now uses real sysbench numbers rather than estimates. So our scores are no longer capped at 100, and this new benchmarking system should scale well into the future. At the end, you can get your Nomad score, and you can optionally and anonymously submit it to a public leaderboard at benchmark.projectnomad.us. This is a great resource if you're shopping for a Nomad server. You can actually look up hardware that's, close to what you're considering, and then see what scores people actually got on that hardware instead of guessing. Now, if you've already run a benchmark on an older version of Project Nomad, you're going to want to rerun it now on version 1.34. We had to convert the old scores mathematically, and those estimates are just not as accurate as a real run. And because most of the scoreboard is still those estimated converted scores right now, the rankings are going to shuffle around a bit as new ones come in. And that's expected, but we figured we'd rather bite the bullet and make the change now rather than pushing it off any further. And there are 60 plus other changes in version 1.34, and you can read the release notes if you want, but there are a few more that are worth mentioning. Interrupted downloads now resume properly. If you were pulling a 12 gig Wikipedia file and it dropped at 11 gigs, it used to have to restart from 0, but now it picks up where it left off. We fixed 4 dead Wikipedia download links. If you tried to download Wikipedia recently and the download just failed, well, that's why. It wasn't your computer, it was the remote links had changed, and previously, Nomad didn't automatically pick up those changes. That is now fixed. The updater now cleans up old Discord images after it updates instead of leaving them to, quietly suck up your disk space. And AMD integrated graphics get used properly for AI now instead of silently failing back to the CPU, which is a big deal if you're running on like a Ryzen mini PC. Full release notes are linked below if you want to look through everything, and we have properly credited every one of our awesome community members who contributed to this release. So, tons of new updates and features. If you haven't tried Project Nomad yet, give it a shot. We are constantly improving the product, and the best is yet to come. Project Nomad is 100% free and open source, and you can find all of the relevant info, including step-by-step installation instructions, by browsing over to projectnomad.us. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.